You're welcome back to Breakfast Central. Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu recently declared that Nigeria's economy has turned the corner and that prosperity is on the horizon. At the coronation of the new Olubadan of Ibadan, President Tinubu said, "Your suffering and perseverance have yielded growth and prosperity. The economy has turned the corner. It is painful surgery. The moment of prosperity and growth awaits us." Strong words of assurances, many would say. But let's unpack that. What indicators support this claim? Inflation is still biting, the naira remains volatile, and unemployment is high. So what exactly has turned the corner? What does that really mean for the average citizen? Is this a turning point or just political optimism? Join us this morning at Breakfast Central to unpack all of this is economist and development expert, Dr. Aliyu Ilias. A warm welcome to you, sir. Thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me this beautiful morning. Thank you.
Before I ask my first question, let's take a listen to Mr. President himself.
Bàtà pẹ́lẹ́kẹ̀ ìrùkẹ̀rẹ̀ á máa pọ̀ sí ẹ kú ọdún òní ẹ kú ọjọ́ ìní mo kí gbogbo Ìbàdàn ẹ kú ayẹyẹ ìní ìdùnnú la máa rí ayọ̀ ńlá tí Ọlọ́run fún wa lénìí kò ní dìbànújẹ́. Ó gba ọmọ yín náà aṣoríire ìbàjẹ́ ò ní bá wọn ẹ ṣé ẹ kú tọ́jú mi mo ti wá síbí sí òkè mọ̀kò pé ká ẹ dúró tì mí pé èmi ló kàn adẹ̀tí wà ń bẹ̀. To many of you here present again, today I'm honored and I'm very proud to give you the cheering news that the economy has turned the corner. There is a bright light at the end of the tunnel. Your suffering is a pain of a painful surgery. But it's now returned to the moment of growth and prosperity is awaiting us ahead. Thank you for your perseverance. Thank you for your endurance. Thank you for your understanding. Thank you. God bless you. God bless your state. God bless the Oba.
Yeah, Dr. Ilias, there you have it, Mr. President, being very optimistic. Now, would like to let's get straight to it. What's your honest assessment of the state of Nigeria's economy as we speak today, as an economist, using all the necessary metrics?
Right. So if we listen to him clearly, he said is actually awaiting us. He still uses a futuristic language. He's not saying directly that we can see it now. And we must actually say that yes, our macroeconomic indicators are showing a positive outlook. But the question is that as it transfer to micro level, can we now say household is now feeling the impact of the macroeconomic indicator? These are the questions. So there's what we call a lead time and lag time in economies. So the problem now is lag time. All what he's saying now, as he actually translates. So at what time are we going to start seeing it on day-to-day event? Now, it is clear that even if you look at the market products, commodities that are coming down, but the question is that where is the purchasing power? The major thing is not cost of things. The major thing is the purchasing power of it. And that is the major problem. So for me, I would say that, like you rightly put it, we are still awaiting the impact of all the macroeconomic indicators that you are seeing in GDP, in inflation, in forex, in reserve. we are seeing those positive optimism, we are seeing positive outlook, but it has not translated to people's
So if you could put
and helping people disposable income.
If you could put a timeline to it, when do we expect this to translate, this macroeconomic gains, for people to feel it, ordinary Nigerians?
Right. So before I put timeline to it, I could also say that they are not yet concrete in the sense that we don't know what will happen, is the economy. We don't know what will erode those objectives until we must sustain those things. So before I put a timeline, we must be able to sustain the currency as it is now, that it will not go up again, to be coming down. We must be able to continue to increase the foreign reserve and we must also to manage the inflation, especially food component of the inflation. And we must also continue to produce. So if we are at this level going forward, I think by January, February, we'll start seeing the impact on the markets. When we say, January, December also have its own dirty December things coming together. So apparently by first quarter of next year, we'll start seeing the result of all this impact. Things are actually coming down now, but the purchasing power actually not there. And that's the major problem. So if people have 1 million naira, how much can 1 million buy is the question.
So the question is, you've made reference to dirty December. Is December really going to be dirty? What will be the impact and what are the expectations for what is to be expected in December? You're saying that we are most likely to see these gains translated down to the grassroots by first quarter of next year. Will the impact of the concept of dirty December, with more FX coming into the country, more foreigners coming into the country, will that alleviate some of the difficulties that these policies have caused in the little gains that we should have expected to see here in Nigeria?
Well, the beauty of the economy is that anything that happens at the upper level is expected to translate down. So that period itself has economic booming impacts. That if you have much more diaspora remittance in Nigeria, it will help the supply side of dollar. And when the supply side of dollar make it much more available, the forex, the value of naira will begin to appreciate. So we are looking at naira being appreciated by next quarter. By first quarter of December. And by that time, people will now have more money to actually buy goods and services. Then we have some legacy problems we must also come to look at critically. Among the legacy problem is our production and also our agriculture. You recall that August 2023, President said he declared of emergency of food security. As at early this month, government said go and slash the price of commodities. These are the things we want government to do. These are what they should do and increase much more security. So by the time we keep on doing all this, it will reflect in the purchasing power of people. People can now say, okay, a bag of rice, a bag of garri, it's not that it's cheap, we can also afford it. So these are the things. And value of money is the problem now. Like we always tell the unions that don't always agitate that you want more salary. If you increase your salary and your salary does not have value, why not say that you want price of commodities to come down, rent to come down, transport to come down. If transport comes down, the rent come down, price of commodities come down, people can now have more money in their pocket to do other things. So that's what we see in the economy, that it's not about the money and it's about what the money you can actually purchase.
Now, Dr. Ilias, there are those that will argue with you and say, Nigerian economics defies the law of gravity, that when things go up, sometimes they never come down. I'd like to take your perspective on that. And also, while speaking in Ibadan, Mr. President says, in a very, understanding and fatherly tone, he said, this reforms as painful as surgery. From your perspective and from an economic perspective, have we gone through the worst? Is the government still going to tell us to tighten our belts, or we've taken the impact of the floating of the naira and the removal of the fuel subsidy? Nothing more can come from the government's end. What we just have to do now is sit back, relax, and enjoy the fruits of our labor or the sacrifices that we've made?
All right. Let me answer you from the first question that as things doesn't actually come down. So we have seen our petroleum products coming up and down. I've also seen price of food commodities coming down gradually. So it is possible in economy, it's very, very possible, when there is more supply, there will be, the price will come down. When there is high demand, the price will actually go up. The law of demand still remain, and it will affect the economy. It's a pure law that is still operational. Now, you made mention of the president said that we have gone through the worst. I can tell you this is the worst since the independence that Nigeria have gone through. If you recall, right from the Emefiele period, that's when we start suffering it, when we have change of currency, among other. But when President Tinubu came, his reform, I can say yes, it's both reform, but his reform bites harder than any other reform we have ever seen. We have seen it that to an extent that it's difficult for the Nigerians to actually go to the market. People have to change their children from one school to the other. People have to be sleeping in the office simply because they cannot afford the transportation. I can tell you up till now, some offices that said don't come work for 5 days, you come work 2 days, even in civil service, you have seen. So this is the most painful reform as it was. So if it does not yield, it will be very, very sad that another thing is coming to erode. But let's come to how it can be operational. I think the onus is still on the federal government, the president himself, because anytime you decide to want to argue with the federal government, they will say that we should go to our state, that our governors, they have more money and they expect them to be doing things. And I can tell you that has to also differ from economic reasoning. How? Before President Tinubu came on board, state government share around 600 billion naira. And I can tell you now, they share close to 2 trillion naira monthly. But I can tell you the 600 billion as at that time have more value. You can see more construction. But this amount they are sharing now has less value. Because if you have 200 million naira today, the house as at 2023, 2022, that money can buy for is not what it can actually buy today. So I wouldn't say we are going to continue to enjoy. We may continue to be living in an economy that is quite, it's not booming, but it takes a lot away from you. So that is the reality. So it's possible we start coming down, but I don't think we can go back to actually where we are actually coming from.
Okay, and just to mention, like in terms of citizens here, what are some of the metrics that citizens should look out for to be able to monitor the improvement or otherwise of the economy beyond the regular, everyone's saying bag of rice is expensive, yam is expensive. Are we focusing on inflation rate? Are we focusing on GDP growth? What are the metrics to look out for? And what measures can citizens take to better prepare themselves or protect themselves from what the projected outcomes might be?
I think the most important one should be inflation, because when we say inflation, a lot of things come together to bring about inflation. And why do I say inflation? If you can get to 12% inflation level from this level we are now, and we can grow our economic growth to 8%, I think that's when we can say yes, Nigeria is experiencing growth, and Nigeria is population is experiencing good standard of living. Why do I say so? If you look at the components of inflation basket, food is about 40% of it. So definitely, if we have more availability of food at less cost compared to what it is now, that's at that point Nigeria will say yes, we are getting better. But another critical thing is our energy sector. Energy security is very, very key, and any country who doesn't take cognizance or make sure that they have good energy security will definitely have problems. How do I say so now? The cost of transportation is the major problem bedeviling Nigerians. If you have to expend about 30% to 40% of your money on transport, I also expend about 55-60% on your food. What remains for you for rent? What remains for you for school fees? What remains for you to do other things? So our transport, I think, is the major thing. And what the government did in terms of CNG has not reflected on the cost of transportation, which is very, very. So remember, food has to be transported down to where it will be sold. and it's about transport. So if we have less transportation costs, people have more money in their pockets, and the disposable income will be much more meaningful, and they will use it to do something good. So I think we should look at inflation, but under that, we should look at food inflation critically.
Shouldn't unemployment and job creation as well be another area to explore? A number of youths still would complain about the numbers, what the numbers are saying when it comes to youth unemployment. Is that a factor to consider?
Right. So I think from the NBS, the calculation they're actually doing, for me, I find it difficult to use it to actually judge the level of unemployment. According to the calculation, it said unemployment level in Nigeria is about 4 to 5%. And myself and you will know that no, that's not actually correct. So there's need to create employment opportunity. You recall even Dr. Kundewela said there's need for social safety net, because she has seen that the economy, yes, is stable, but the impact is still biting hard on Nigerians, and there is no employment. So employment is very, very key. And what can bring employment? Let's go there. What can bring employment is to have a good economic GDP. Now, if you look at our GDP, it's being led by service sector. The industrial sector is also very, very, very low. Manufacturing is very, very low. Agriculture is very, very low. MSME is also very low. So if you continue to have service sector simply means that it's portfolio investment. People bring money and put it in stock, put it in bank to just enjoy the interest rate and what have you. It does not really bring good business. So if it is the industrial sector, if it's foreign direct investment, they will come and build a factory. People will work there. They will create employment. So that's the only way to have employment. We have also seen most foreign companies moving away from Nigeria. We must think about import substitution to create job for people to actually do more. And you also recall that the interest rate has also discouraged a lot of people from doing business. If you are paying 27% as it was now, interest. Remember that as the asymmetric corridor is also there to take it close to 30% again on interest. So if you are having interest at that level, it will discourage investors to go to the bank to borrow money to invest, because it's when investors invest that we will see employment, especially in the industry and agricultural sector.
Now, Dr. Ilias, you did mention energy security, but I want to relate it with the inflation. As we currently speak, I mean, in the last 2 years, we've seen big things, positive things come out of Nigeria, and I'm talking about the Dangote refinery, because it's helped us save on FX. We're not spending FX on importing refined petrol products from abroad. And there's also the current issue of Pengassan versus Anupeng versus the Dangote refinery. How critical is this refinery to Nigeria's economy and the stabilization of our economy? Is it critical? Should it be treated like a critical national asset? Because if he doesn't supply, or if he decides to supply by taking US dollars, it would have an adverse effect. The cost will be passed on to the consumers, and the price would go from 865 that we're enjoying in Lagos, it would most definitely go up. So I want you to give us your perspective on this.
No doubt, Dangote Energy and Petrochemicals bring about balance of payment, a good balance of payment for us, a good balance of trade for us, because we could export to up to America. And it has also make the supply side of energy also much more easier. But by and large, you recall that Dangote seem with different companies seem to be in the downstream, midstream, and upstream. But the argument is that is it positive to the economy? 100% is positive. Has helped us in different ways. However, when it comes to union issue, we all have different perspectives. I also like to encourage Dangote and his handlers to also look at it in the other way around. You cannot say that they should work without belonging to union. Union also should have limits. So let's just uphold our constitution in this case and make sure that everything becomes balanced. And what am I saying is that we also have Shell, Ajib, Total, ExxonMobil, a lot of them operate in Nigeria. We've not really get to this level of argument between the workers and the, perhaps he has more worker compared to them, but the fact is that from the account of what we are seeing, sacking of 800 people, it also have adverse economic effects on the household as well. So if you're looking at the country as a whole, we have to look at the also. Then I also want us to look at the issue of monopoly, because by the time we have this and we tolerate this more, we are tilting towards monopoly. But I just want Dangote to look at it from that perspective. You also consider what is going to lose if they continue to strike or picketing is the organization. So I think federal government should also intervene and see that they come to a balance. For me, I think Dangote is doing well for us, but he also has to consider Nigeria. Right,
and that's a great way to land this conversation. Thank you so much, Dr. Ilias, for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central. I hope that this matter is resolved and it doesn't go into a full-blown strike, because we will feel the impact of this strike if it happens. We had thought that this matter was laid to rest as at last week, but last year we are again. Thank you so much for your time with us.